Many people wake up every day unaware that they've been gifted another chance, another day to live, to improve, to turn back to their Creator. And yet, instead of beginning the day with thanks, they begin with complaints. We complain about the traffic, the noise, the job, the bills, the people, and sometimes even about our own lives. Slowly, this becomes a habit, and we start to carry the weight of negativity without even realizing it. The question is, where is our gratitude? Gratitude in Islam is not just a polite response to good news or a cultural expression of manners. It is a powerful act of worship. It's a recognition that everything we have and everything we are ultimately comes from Allah. And when a believer truly understands this, their entire approach to life begins to shift. Allah has given us a clear and beautiful promise. If you are grateful, I will surely increase you. Now think about this. It's not just a spiritual reward in the hereafter. The verse speaks of real increase. Increase in your peace of mind, increase in contentment, increase in blessings, both visible and invisible. That's not just theory, that's a divine law of how life works for the believer. But here's where many people go wrong. We treat gratitude as something we'll do after life becomes easier. We wait until the promotion comes, the illness passes, the marriage is fixed, or the problem is resolved. Then we say, now I can be grateful. But that's not how it works. Gratitude isn't something you postpone, it's something you practice, especially when things aren't going your way. Gratitude is actually a discipline. It's something you have to push yourself to do. And just like you train your body to become stronger through exercise, you train your heart to become more grateful through repetition and awareness. You do it until it becomes second nature, until you start noticing blessings that others overlook, like the ability to breathe without difficulty, or the fact that your heart is beating without you even thinking about it. When a person becomes truly grateful, their entire energy changes. They become more patient with people. They complain less. They stop obsessing over what they don't have and start making the most of what they do have. This isn't just spirituality, this is transformation. And it all begins with a shift in mindset. One of the reasons many people feel stuck in life or constantly unfulfilled is because they've lost sight of what's already been given to them. No matter how much they accumulate, it's never enough. Why? Because without gratitude, blessings feel empty. But the moment gratitude enters the heart, even the smallest gift feels like something special. Gratitude also keeps the heart humble. It reminds us that we are not self-sufficient. We didn't earn our blessings through our efforts alone. Behind every success is divine permission. Behind every closed door that later opened was Allah's timing. Gratitude keeps us grounded. It reminds us who's really in control. So instead of waiting for life to become perfect, start thanking Allah for the imperfect moments too. Because even in hardship, there are lessons, there is protection, and there are hidden blessings that we may only recognize later. The ability to be thankful while you're struggling is a sign of deep spiritual maturity. In Islam, gratitude is not just something you feel, it's something you express through your words, through your actions, and through your attitude. A grateful person becomes a source of positivity for everyone around them. They radiate peace, they spread hope, and they inspire others to be thankful too. That's the power of gratitude, and it's available to every one of us every single day. It's easy to be grateful when everything is going your way. When your health is good, your family is safe, your income is stable, and your plans are unfolding the way you expected. During such times, saying, "I'm thankful," doesn't feel like a struggle. But the true measure of gratitude and the strength of your connection with Allah is revealed not during your best days, but during your most difficult ones. Every one of us goes through seasons of hardship. There are days when nothing seems to go right. You may be dealing with disappointment, heartbreak, loneliness, anxiety, or even loss. And in those moments, gratitude can feel unnatural. It can feel forced. You might even ask yourself, how can I be thankful when I'm in pain? But this is precisely when gratitude becomes most valuable, when it becomes an act of faith rather than just a reaction to ease. Choosing to be grateful during hardship doesn't mean denying your struggles. It means acknowledging that even in the middle of the storm, there's still something worth holding on to. It means trusting that Allah hasn't abandoned you, that this test is part of your story, and that He sees something in you worth refining through difficulty. You don't need to understand the entire reason behind your test to be grateful. What you need is the conviction that there is wisdom in what you're experiencing, even if it's hidden from you right now. You need the belief that Allah never burdens a soul with more than it can bear. And if He brought you to this challenge, He has already given you what you need to endure it now, or He will when the time is right. There are countless people who, after going through a difficult chapter in their lives, later look back and say, at the time, I didn't understand why that happened. But now I see how it changed me, how it made me stronger, how it brought me closer to Allah, how it protected me from something worse. That kind of insight often comes after the storm has passed. But gratitude asks you to trust that insight even before it arrives. This is where many people falter. During hardship, they become bitter. They become angry at the world, and sometimes without even realizing it, they become distant from Allah. But others choose a different path. They choose to remain thankful even with tears in their eyes. They continue to pray, to reflect, to give, and to serve. Not because life is easy, but because they believe that their patience and gratitude will not go to waste. When you push yourself to be grateful during hardship, you are not just surviving, you are transforming. You are shaping your soul in a way that can only be done through struggle. That's when your character is built. That's when sincerity is tested. That's when your faith becomes real. And always remember, even in your most difficult moments, there are people praying for what you already have. You may be focused on what you've lost, but someone else would feel blessed to have even half of what remains with you. This perspective doesn't erase your pain, but it humbles the heart and helps you rise above self-pity. So the next time life gets difficult, and it will, because tests are part of being human, take a moment to look inward and ask yourself, what can I still be thankful for right now? Is it my ability to breathe, to think, to turn to Allah, to start again? That shift in mindset could be the very thing that unlocks the patience, the strength, and the peace you've been searching for. Even when your circumstances are beyond your control, the attitude you choose in response is still yours to own. And that's where your greatest strength lies. You may not be able to change the test, but you can change how you carry it, with frustration and resentment, or with grace and gratitude. That doesn't mean you deny your feelings. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel tired. It's okay to admit that you're struggling. Being grateful doesn't mean pretending to be okay when you're not. It simply means that, in spite of everything, you still choose to acknowledge the good, even if it feels small compared to the pain. In fact, the smallest blessings become more meaningful when you're going through difficulty. A friend who checks in, a prayer that brings a sense of calm, a moment of clarity in the middle of emotional fog, a quiet night when you can finally sleep. These things might go unnoticed in times of ease, but in hardship they shine brighter. That's how pain refines your perspective. It makes you more aware, more awake, and more connected to what truly matters. And perhaps the greatest blessing in hardship is this: it often draws you closer to your Creator. How many people in their moments of despair found their way back to prayer? How many cried for the first time in sujood, not when they were winning, but when they were broken? Pain, when handled with faith, becomes a bridge between you and your Rabb. It humbles you, it softens your heart, and it brings sincerity to your du'as that comfort never could. That's why the believer sees trials differently, not as punishments, but as opportunities, not as obstacles, but as openings, a chance to earn reward, to cleanse the heart, to detach from this temporary world and attach more deeply to the eternal. When you train yourself to think like this, gratitude becomes a spiritual strategy. You start to view difficulty as part of the journey, not the end of it. And if there's one thing you must always remember, it's this: hardship is never permanent. No storm lasts forever. Every night eventually gives way to dawn. The very fact that you've made it through previous challenges is proof that you can make it through this one too. You are still standing, still breathing, still believing. And that is something to be deeply grateful for. So when life gets difficult, don't wait for it to get better before you decide to be thankful. Choose gratitude now, not because your situation is perfect, but because your trust in Allah is greater than the problem in front of you. That mindset, that inner resilience is what transforms tests into triumphs. And it's that spirit of gratitude during pain, not after it, that distinguishes a believer with deep conviction from one who only sees value in comfort. Keep holding on, keep being thankful, and keep walking your path, knowing that every step taken with faith and gratitude is never wasted in the sight of your Lord. One of the biggest challenges we face in the modern world is the overwhelming pressure to constantly compare our lives with others. Every time we open our phones, scroll through social media, or engage with the digital world, we are flooded with images and stories of people who seem to have more, achieve faster, live better, and succeed bigger. And when we see this every day, it becomes very easy to fall into the trap of dissatisfaction. You begin to think, why not me? You start to question your own timeline, your own progress, your own worth. You may be perfectly fine one moment and then suddenly feel inadequate just because someone else appears to be doing more or having more. This constant exposure to curated lifestyles creates a mindset that tells you what you have is not enough and who you are is not enough. But this mindset is not just harmful, it's spiritually dangerous because it blinds you to your blessings. It makes you forget that everything you have is a gift, not a guarantee. You could be living in comfort, surrounded by peace, even enjoying good health, yet still feel unfulfilled, simply because your focus is on what you lack rather than what you have. This is why gratitude is so important. It resets your perspective. It protects your heart from becoming ungrateful. It brings your attention back to the countless favors that Allah has already given you, many of which others are desperately praying for. And when you remind yourself of this, you begin to realize that comparison is one of the fastest ways to destroy contentment. If you keep measuring your life by what others are showing online, which is often filtered, edited, and exaggerated, then you will never feel good enough. Someone will always seem ahead. Someone will always appear happier, richer, or more fulfilled. But that doesn't mean they are. The reality behind the screen is often very different. And chasing that illusion will only rob you of the joy and peace that come from appreciating your own reality. It's also important to remember that success, as defined by the world, is not the same as success in the sight of Allah. A person may have wealth, beauty, and influence, but none of that guarantees peace of heart, nor does it guarantee success in the hereafter. On the other hand, a person may be struggling quietly, living simply, yet they are rich in contentment, close to Allah, and fulfilling their purpose with sincerity. That is true success, and it can't be measured in likes, followers, or status. This modern culture of constant comparison is exactly why so many people are spiritually restless today. Because when your focus is always outward on what others have, you stop looking inward. You stop recognizing your unique journey, your personal growth, and your own silent victories. Gratitude brings your attention back to your path, not theirs. So take a moment to look around and within. Do you have food on your table today? Do you have a roof over your head? Can you breathe without pain? Do you have loved ones you can call? Can you still pray, reflect, and ask your Creator for help? If the answer is yes, even to some of those, then you are more blessed than you may realize. Instead of chasing someone else's life, water the garden you've been given. Instead of being busy counting their blessings, start counting your own. That simple shift is the difference between misery and contentment, between a restless soul and a peaceful one. In a world that teaches you to want more, be the one who chooses to appreciate what you already have. Because in that decision, you'll find not just gratitude, you'll find freedom. And here's the truth. Many people today are mentally exhausted, not because they are physically overworked, but because they are emotionally overwhelmed by trying to keep up with a version of life that isn't even real. They are constantly scrolling, constantly consuming, constantly exposed to a highlight reel that tells them they are always behind. This mindset drains the soul. It creates anxiety, jealousy, resentment, and worst of all, it creates a false sense of failure. You start believing you're not achieving enough. You assume your efforts are insignificant. And slowly, without even realizing it, you stop appreciating what's in your hands because your eyes are fixated on someone else's plate. This is why Islam places such emphasis on protecting the heart, because a distracted, jealous, or ungrateful heart becomes vulnerable, not just emotionally, but spiritually. It becomes more susceptible to doubt, to ingratitude, and to the whispers of Shaitan, who wants you to forget the favors of your Lord and focus only on what's missing. One of the most beautiful teachings in our deen is the instruction to look at those beneath you in worldly matters, not above. Why? Because when you look at those who have less than you, you are reminded of how blessed you truly are. Your perspective shifts. That job you were complaining about suddenly becomes a source of income. That meal you take for granted becomes a luxury that someone else is dreaming of. That home you call small becomes a shelter millions would risk everything to have. But when you look up at others constantly, without grounding yourself in gratitude, it becomes nearly impossible to feel content. You start to chase endlessly. Your life turns into a competition that never ends. And even when you reach a goal, you immediately shift to the next, never pausing long enough to say, Alhamdulillah, this is a blessing. Gratitude interrupts that cycle. It pauses the race. It tells your heart, let's not rush past this moment, let's honor it. Because every stage of life has its own blessings. And if you don't learn to appreciate them now, you won't suddenly appreciate them later. That's the danger of conditioning yourself to only be happy when you have more. You end up never being happy at all. True peace doesn't come from reaching what others have. It comes from recognizing what you have been given, from knowing that your journey is uniquely tailored for you, with its own timeline, its own pace, and its own lessons. And when you truly trust that, you no longer feel the need to compete with anyone else. So the next time you feel that creeping sense of I'm behind or I'm not enough, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, compared to whom? According to whose definition of success? What does it say about me if I can breathe freely, walk without assistance, speak my thoughts, turn to my Creator at any moment, and still feel like I have nothing? That question is a wake-up call. The truth is, most of us are far more blessed than we are burdened. We've just been conditioned to overlook those blessings. And unless we unlearn that mindset, we will continue to feel empty in a life that is already full. So make it a habit to thank your Lord not only when you receive something new, but also when you still have something others are losing. Gratitude is not just about recognizing gain. It's about recognizing stability. It's about recognizing what didn't go wrong today. And when you live in that awareness, you stop chasing happiness and start living it. When you stop chasing happiness and start living it through gratitude, something powerful begins to shift inside you. You begin to understand that peace doesn't come from what you possess. It comes from how you perceive. It's not the number in your bank account, the size of your home, or how many people applaud your efforts. It's the quiet contentment that settles in your heart when you recognize that what you have is already enough. Gratitude silences that constant inner voice telling you to do more, get more, be more, because it teaches you to pause and appreciate where you are. You begin to realize that while goals are important, they should never rob you of present peace. And that's where many people fall into a trap. They link their happiness to a future condition. They say things like, I'll be happy when I get married. I'll be thankful when I earn more. Or I'll feel better once this problem is over. But what if that milestone takes years? What if it never arrives the way you imagined it? Do you intend to delay your peace until then? Islam teaches us something different. It teaches us to find peace in the moment we're in, to live with a heart that says, even if I don't have everything I want, I have enough to say thank you to the one who gave me everything I need. That mindset doesn't just bring contentment, it brings barakah. It multiplies the goodness in your life. Because when you value what you have, Allah increases you in ways you never expected. Not always in quantity, but often in depth, quality, and meaning. There are people who live with less than you, yet their hearts are more at ease. Why? because they don't spend their days consumed by comparison. They focus on their connection with Allah, on their relationships, their character, their purpose, and they anchor their identity not in material things but in values that last beyond this life. Gratitude also transforms your daily experiences. A morning cup of tea becomes a moment of calm. A simple meal becomes a reason to reflect. Time spent with loved ones becomes a treasure, not just a routine. You start to live slower, with more depth, more purpose, and more appreciation. You become more present, and that presence is what heals much of the inner anxiety we carry today. And here's something profound. Gratitude is deeply tied to humility. A grateful person is one who acknowledges, I am not in control of everything. I didn't earn these blessings on my own. I'm not entitled to any of this. That attitude removes arrogance from the heart and brings a deeper level of spiritual consciousness. It softens you. It makes you more generous, more patient with others, and more forgiving. Because you recognize that everything you have is a gift, and gifts are meant to be shared, not hoarded. At its core, the habit of gratitude is what elevates an average life into a meaningful one. It turns ordinary days into sacred moments. It strengthens your connection with your Creator. It protects your heart from the diseases of envy, pride, and greed. And in a world that constantly tells you to want more, gratitude is your shield. It's your anchor. It's your silent declaration that says, I already have enough and I am enough because Allah is enough. So as you move through life, whether in ease or difficulty, in abundance or in limitation, train your heart to see the blessings, not just the gaps. Practice saying thank you not only with your words, but through your actions, your attitude, and the way you treat others. That is the true essence of gratitude. And once you master that, you'll find that peace has been with you all along. It was just waiting for your attention. Gratitude doesn't always come in grand moments. It doesn't need to be wrapped in luxury, tied to massive success, or expressed only during life-changing events. In fact, the most powerful form of gratitude is often the quietest, the small, consistent recognition of everyday blessings that most people walk past without a second thought. One of the biggest misconceptions people have is that in order to feel grateful, something extraordinary needs to happen. But the reality is, gratitude is most meaningful when it is practiced in the ordinary, when it is part of your daily rhythm, not only during moments of celebration, but during your routine, your stillness, and even in your struggles. Think about it. How often do we thank Allah for the things we assume will always be there? The breath in your lungs, the ability to sleep peacefully, a roof over your head, water that runs when you open the tap, a stomach that can digest food, eyes that see without pain. These may seem small, but they are foundational to your life. And once any of them is taken away, even briefly, we realize just how blessed we were all along. It's the small things that carry the weight of your life. And when you become someone who notices and appreciates those small things, your mindset changes. You start living more consciously. You start slowing down, becoming more aware, more present. And with presence comes peace. But here's what's truly remarkable. Allah doesn't just reward the feeling of gratitude. He rewards the practice of it. When you pause to say thank you from the heart, even for the tiniest blessing, you are engaging in an act of worship. It is a moment of spiritual consciousness. It is an acknowledgement that you are not entitled. You are blessed. That awareness is deeply powerful because it not only brings humility, it opens the door to more. And this is where we witness something truly miraculous. Allah promises increase, not just metaphorically, but in reality. When you are thankful, your blessings either grow or your ability to enjoy them expands. Sometimes He gives you more. Sometimes He puts more barakah in what you already have. And sometimes He removes the heaviness in your heart that was stopping you from seeing how blessed you already are. Either way, gratitude never leaves you where it found you. It always elevates you. That's why the most spiritually rich people are not always those who have the most, but those who are the most grateful. You will find people living modest lives, carrying heavy burdens, yet still smiling, still generous, still grounded. Why? Because their hearts are full of gratitude. They don't waste time fixating on what's missing. They honor what's already present. If you start developing this mindset, beginning with just a few intentional moments each day, you'll feel the difference almost immediately. You might begin your day with a short reflection. What am I thankful for right now? It could be your family, your health, your morning coffee, your ability to walk unaided, or simply the fact that you've been given another day to live with purpose. You don't need elaborate routines. You don't need dramatic transformation. You just need awareness, a shift in focus, a decision to notice what's already going right in your life instead of constantly obsessing over what's wrong. That one shift, when done consistently, can completely change how you experience life. Because when you learn to recognize the value in simple things, you start treating life with more care. You complain less. You compare less. You serve more. You smile more. You forgive faster. You begin to carry yourself with a calm dignity because you know that you are already walking through life with the quiet strength of someone who sees blessings where others see problems. So never underestimate the power of simple gratitude. A sincere thankfulness whispered in the dark, a silent recognition of a small favor, or a moment of stillness where you quietly acknowledge, I am blessed. These are not insignificant. They are soul-shaping. They are life-giving. And in the eyes of your Creator, they carry massive weight. It's important to remember that what we consider simple in this life could be massive in the sight of Allah. The Prophet taught us that even a small act done sincerely, like removing something harmful from the road, or smiling at your brother, or offering a kind word, can carry immense reward. The same applies to gratitude. A small, quiet thankfulness rooted in sincerity can bring about immense barakah in your health, your time, your relationships, and even in your dua. You may think that acknowledging your clean water, your working limbs, your ability to pray without interruption is a small matter. But when Allah sees that your heart is consistently remembering Him, not just when you gain something big, but also when nothing has changed, when life is calm, when everything feels ordinary, that's when your gratitude becomes transformational. Because let's be honest, it's not difficult to thank Allah after a miracle. But how many of us thank Him for the days when nothing special happens? For the days that are free of problems? For the mornings where we wake up in peace and the nights when we sleep without fear? We often forget that the absence of hardship is itself a blessing. No bad news today, that's a blessing. No pain in your body, that's a blessing. A fridge with food, a friend who listens, a moment of laughter, all of these are easily overlooked. And yet they are the fabric of a meaningful life. When you train yourself to notice them, you stop living on autopilot. You stop rushing through your days waiting for the big things and instead begin to find joy in what's already around you. And here's something beautiful. Gratitude doesn't just change your relationship with Allah. It also changes your relationship with people. A grateful person is easier to love, easier to trust, easier to be around. They don't drain others with constant negativity. They don't always highlight what's missing. Instead, they uplift the atmosphere around them. They express appreciation for the people in their lives. They become a source of light in dark environments. In fact, some of the most impactful people you'll ever meet are not the loudest, nor the wealthiest, nor the most celebrated. They're the ones who live with quiet dignity, who honor the little things, who say thank you, not just to Allah, but to the people around them, who never make others feel unseen or unappreciated. That kind of gratitude creates ripples, it heals, it inspires, it leaves a legacy that outlives material success. So the next time you think, what difference does it make to just say thank you? Remember this. Every moment of sincere gratitude brings you closer to your Creator. Every acknowledgement of a small favor strengthens your character. Every time you resist the urge to complain and instead reflect, I am blessed, even if it's a whisper to yourself. You are building a mindset that can withstand storms and carry you through any phase of life. Because a grateful person is never truly poor. Even in difficulty, they have richness in their perspective. Even in scarcity, they hold abundance in their heart. And even when life feels uncertain, they walk with the confidence of someone who knows, as long as I can be thankful, I will always have enough. Gratitude isn't something that just happens to you when life is going well. It's not a feeling you stumble upon once in a while. It's a discipline, a deliberate daily spiritual exercise that you have to commit to. The same way you commit to your prayer, your dhikr, your physical health, or your family responsibilities. It's something you train yourself to do, not just with your words, but with your mindset, your choices, and your habits. And the more consistently you practice it, the more natural it becomes. Gratitude becomes like a lens through which you see the world, even when that world is imperfect. You see, just like you don't wait for your body to fall apart before you start taking care of your health, you shouldn't wait for hardship to force you into reflection. Begin now. Build a rhythm. Make thankfulness a lifestyle, not a reaction. Because once it becomes part of your inner system, it will protect you, even when life tries to shake you. How do you begin? It doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as simple as pausing for 60 seconds every morning before the rush begins and saying to yourself, what do I have right now that I'm thankful for? Think about it deeply. Is it your breathing, your eyesight, a peaceful home? The fact that you've been given another chance to pray, reflect, and draw closer to your Creator? That moment of reflection, though short, is powerful. It grounds your energy for the day. It sets the tone. It reminds your heart before anything else that you are already blessed. You can extend this throughout your day. Practice recognizing moments of ease while they're happening. When you drink clean water, pause and appreciate it. When your body feels strong, when your work goes smoothly, when someone shows you kindness, stop and acknowledge it internally. This is a gift. And in your prayers, be intentional. Don't just ask. Start by thanking. Spend those first moments in sujud not listing what you need, but acknowledging what you already have. That gratitude will soften your heart, humble your tone, and strengthen the sincerity of your dua. Because Allah loves when His servant turns to Him in appreciation, not just desperation. Gratitude can also be practiced in how you interact with others. When you're kind to your parents, when you show appreciation to your spouse, when you thank your children or co-workers, when you acknowledge someone's effort, that's also gratitude in action. It's not only about thanking the Creator, it's also about honoring the creation. And what's beautiful is that this daily discipline of gratitude doesn't just transform your soul, it transforms your relationships, your mood, and even your physical health. Studies have shown what our deen has always taught, that people who regularly practice thankfulness are more emotionally stable, mentally resilient, and physically healthier. Why? Because their hearts are lighter. They don't carry unnecessary burdens. They know how to let go of what's missing and focus on what's already there. But it takes consistency. If you only practice gratitude once in a while, it won't rewire your mindset. You need to make it a routine, like brushing your teeth, like praying your salah. And the beauty is, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Eventually, your first response to a challenge won't be panic. It will be, what's the wisdom here? Your first reaction to ease won't be pride. It will be, thank you, my Lord. You'll stop waiting for extraordinary moments to feel thankful because you'll begin to see the extraordinary in the ordinary. That's what a daily gratitude practice does. It doesn't change your circumstances immediately. It changes you. It strengthens you. It teaches you how to hold your blessings with care and how to carry your tests with grace. So don't underestimate the power of small, consistent gratitude. Start with today. Acknowledge just 3 things you're thankful for and do it again tomorrow and the next day. Build that spiritual muscle just like you would build physical strength. Because in the end, it's not just about feeling better, it's about becoming better. We live in a world where complaining has become the norm. It's easy, it's convenient, and for many, it's automatic. People wake up and the first thing they talk about is what's going wrong. The weather is too hot. The traffic is frustrating. The coffee didn't taste right. The Wi-Fi is slow. The people around them aren't doing enough. Subhanallah. So many start the day with frustration before even saying, Alhamdulillah, I woke up. But here's the reality, complaining is not just about words, it's a state of mind. And over time it becomes a habit that can poison your soul. The more you complain, the more you focus on what's missing, and the less you see what's present. And when you constantly focus on what you lack, you will never feel satisfied, even if you're surrounded by blessings. Now let's be honest, we all face difficulty. Life isn't perfect. There are tests, hardships, moments of sadness and confusion. Islam doesn't ask you to pretend everything is fine, but it teaches you how to respond. Complaining focuses on what's wrong in a way that leads nowhere. Gratitude focuses on what's right, even when there are problems, and that mindset opens doors spiritually and emotionally. Let me give you a practical example. Two people may go through the same challenge. Let's say they both lose their job. One of them complains endlessly. Why me? It's unfair. Nothing ever goes right. And the other, though deeply affected, takes a moment and says, Alhamdulillah, maybe Allah is protecting me from something. Maybe there's a better opportunity ahead. Let me be patient and ask Allah for guidance. Now tell me, whose heart is at peace? Who is better prepared to move forward? Who is likely to grow, to reflect, to become stronger? That's the power of shifting from complaining to thankfulness. It doesn't make the problem disappear, but it gives you power over how you deal with it. And that's where real transformation happens. When you stop complaining, you're not ignoring your problems. You're choosing to stop being defined by them. You're choosing to take responsibility for your response. And you're creating space in your heart to actually see the good that still exists around you. And here's something else. Complaining doesn't just harm your own mindset. It affects your environment. It impacts your family. Children who grow up in a home where complaining is constant often inherit the same mindset. They begin to believe that nothing is ever enough, that life is always against them. But when they see a parent who is grateful, who says Alhamdulillah in every situation, who stays calm in difficulty, who focuses on blessings, that becomes their model, that becomes their foundation. So how do you shift it? You start by becoming conscious of your thoughts and words. The moment you catch yourself about to complain, pause, take a breath, ask yourself, what is one thing I can be thankful for in this moment instead? Replace nothing ever goes right for me with maybe there's a reason this is happening. Replace I'm tired of this with Alhamdulillah, I'm still here, I'm still trying, Allah is still with me. This takes practice, it takes self-discipline. But every time you make that shift, and even silently, you're strengthening a mindset that Allah loves. A heart that complains less and thanks more is a heart that will always find light even in darkness. And don't underestimate the reward. Every time you resist the urge to complain and you choose gratitude instead, you're earning reward. You're engaging in remembrance. You're planting seeds of patience, trust, and contentment that will grow day by day into a stronger, more resilient soul. This is not just theory, this is real life, and it works. So the next time your day doesn't go your way, or someone disappoints you, or life feels unfair, stop. Don't let your first response be a complaint. Let it be a moment of reflection. Let it be a moment of remembrance. Let it be a whisper of Alhamdulillah. Not because everything is perfect, but because your heart is learning to be grateful regardless. That's the shift, and it's one of the most powerful changes you'll ever make. Let's close this reflection with one of the most beautiful truths in our faith. Gratitude brings barakah. Not just blessings, but increase, growth, and sustained goodness in ways you may never expect. Allah Himself promises this in the Quran. When you are grateful, He will increase you. That increase doesn't always come in numbers. It doesn't always mean more money, more followers, or more attention. Sometimes it means more peace, more contentment, more clarity, more ease in your heart, more acceptance of your circumstances, more strength in your response, more light in your home. That's barakah. And it doesn't always make noise. It's quiet, but it's powerful. It's not always seen, but it's always felt. When you live in a state of gratitude, your relationship with the world begins to shift. You stop chasing what doesn't belong to you because you're focused on what already does. You stop measuring your worth by what others have because your heart is occupied with what Allah has given you. And when Allah sees that you're grateful, not just occasionally but consistently, He increases you in what matters most. Think about it. Who are the people that seem truly content in this life? It's not always the wealthiest or the loudest or the most successful by worldly standards. Often it's those who live simple lives, but their hearts are rich. They're constantly saying, Alhamdulillah. They appreciate the small things. They carry less bitterness. They give more easily. And as a result, they live with barakah in their time, in their sleep, in their children, in their work, in their homes. Barakah is not just about gain. It's about value. One meal can feed your soul. 1 hour of sincere effort can take you further than 10 hours of stress and burnout. One small act of charity can open doors you never imagined. One heartfelt dua made with gratitude can be more powerful than 100 made in anger or desperation. That's the beauty of Allah's promise. It doesn't follow the logic of this world. It follows the wisdom of the one who knows what your heart needs, even before you ask. But there's a condition, and that condition is shukr, gratitude. Not just when you win, but when you're tested. Not just when things are added, but even when things are taken away. True gratitude means trusting that what you have right now is enough for this moment. And whatever is meant to increase will come in its time from the one who never breaks his promise. And let's not forget, barakah doesn't just affect you. It flows outward. When you're grateful, you become more patient. You treat people with more kindness. You give without hesitation. You speak with more gentleness. You raise your children with more love. You work with more integrity. All of this creates an atmosphere of barakah around you. People feel it. They're drawn to it. They're inspired by it. So yes, push yourself to be grateful, especially when life gets hard. Because that gratitude is not just a response. It's a signal. It tells Allah, Ya Rab, I'm trying. I trust you. I'm thankful for what you've given. And I know that even in difficulty, your plan is better than mine. And when you live like that, when you feel that deep inside, the barakah you receive won't just change your life. It'll change your heart. And that, my brother, my sister, is the real victory.